Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. I got another Master Duel video for you, coming at you with a crafting guide for the latest pack. Of course, the new Yummy archetype is here, as well as some new staple cards and follow-up support for some previous archetypes. There's a lot of UR cards that we're going to be covering here, and some of them have been pre-hit here in Master Duel. So if you're wondering how many of each of these cards you'll need, we're going to get right on into it, and I'll let you know right now. Yummy Snatchy is, of course, going to be the face of the new Yummy deck, which, make no mistake, will absolutely be tier 1 in Master Duel. Debatably the best deck of the format, but we'll definitely have to see how things shake out, because there's quite a few hand traps that are good against Yummy that are pretty commonly used in the format, most notably stuff like Droll and Lockbird. But make no mistake, Yummy will absolutely be a tier 1 deck, even with the preemptive hits to the archetype, which I guess I'll take this moment to say I'm personally not the biggest fan of them semi-limiting Snatchy and Marshmallow coming into the game. Don't get me wrong, the other ban list hits of banning Obedient Schooled and limiting Herald and Hornet Drones, I think that was 100% fine and definitely needed. Like, full power Yummy would have definitely been a bit much, but I think semi-limiting Snatchy and especially Marshmallow was definitely a bit much. I just feel like it's kind of unfair that, like, you know, a lot of these other recent meta archetypes got to come in at full power, especially looking at you, Malice. But anyway, so Yummy Snatchy, like I said, you'll definitely want to play the 2 copies of this that are legal in Master Duel. And like I said, it's definitely going to be a tier 1 archetype. Yeah, not really much else to say that I haven't already said in my combo guide, which you can find in the description below. And Marshmallow Yummy is going to be included in this pack, so we are getting the most important piece of follow-up support, presumably all of them, but again, this is the most important one for the Yummy deck. Much like the Link 1 Yummy Snatchy, Marshmallow is going to be coming into the game semi-limited, so it'll only be legal at 2 copies, but you're definitely going to want 2 copies for your Yummy decks. Make absolutely no mistake about that. I guess it kind of makes sense if you're going to hit one of the main deck names why it would be Marshmallow. Marshmallow has a really powerful recursion effect that you're going to make use of not just later in the game, but even on turn 1. Basically lets you use Yummy Surprise, which one of its effects revives the Yummy monster from the graveyard, to act as a free extender. It's worth noting that Marshmallow is actually different in how it summons itself. The other Yummy monsters have effects that do not start a chain. However, Marshmallow's does. Marshmallow is also, of course, different in the fact that it can special summon itself if you control no monsters, as opposed to the other Yummy monsters. So, definitely worth noting that this card is notably different from the other ones. But you'll definitely want 2 of these, and again, of course, Yummy will be a tier 1 deck in Master Duel. Cupsy Yummy is, in a lot of ways, the face of the new Yummy archetype, and in a lot of ways, too, the face of the new meta, as I mentioned in one of my recent videos talking about this archetype. But Cupsy Yummy is absolutely going to be a very powerful card for this deck, which, of course, in and of itself will be very powerful. Yummy's absolutely going to be a tier 1 deck, and you're going to want a full playset of 3 copies of this card for your Yummy decks. Cupsy, in a lot of ways, is the most important Yummy main deck monster because, of course, it searches out your Yummy Surprise, the quick play spell, which will not only act as an extender on your turn in conjunction with Marshmallow, but in turn will let you have more interaction going into your opponent's turn. So, yeah, Cupsy Yummy is probably the best of the Yummy main deck monsters to open with, even though it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. It's also really nice how flexible the effect is, right? If you summon this off a Synchro monster, you could draw a card instead of searching. There's a decent amount of the time that even during your opponent's turn, you would want to search, because actually thanks to Tatsunoko, a level 3 Synchro monster, you can Synchro with materials in hand. But there are also a lot of scenarios where you could just draw a card and find another hand trap during your opponent's turn. So, yeah, Cupsy Yummy, hugely important for the deck. You're absolutely going to want a full playset of 3. Cooky Yummy is yet another fairly important main deck monster, as they all are, for the Yummy archetype, because, of course, any of the Yummy main deck monsters in conjunction with any other card is going to be full Yummy combo. So, Cooky Yummy on your turn 1 won't be doing anything in particular outside of, again, the normal combo enabling that each of the main deck monsters does. but during your opponent's turn, you can summon this and potentially destroy one of their face-up monsters when summoned off of one of the synchro monster effects. So that's really nice. There is also the attack drop effect, which could come up in very specific scenarios, but for the most part, you're really just going to be destroying monsters as part of your disruption during your opponent's turn. Yeah, not much else to really say about this that I haven't already said about some of the other yummy main deck monsters. You're going to want as many of these as possible, a full playset of 3. In pure yummy, at least. In Mitsurugi yummy, you can definitely get away with 2 or only 1. So I guess I'll put 1 to 3 here, because again, if you're playing Mitsurugi yummy specifically, you might only want 1 or 2, but I mean, if you're building Mitsurugi yummy and you're getting all of the support, you might as well just go for, you know, a full playset of 3 in the pure variant as well. But I guess I could understand if you're just looking to, you know, have a more budget build and Mitsurugi yummy doesn't require as many URs. Yeah, you could get away with fewer, but for pure players, you'll definitely want a full playset of 3. Regardless of which variant you're playing, I think it's going to be tier 1. Yummy Surprise is a very important new piece of support for the Yummy archetype. It's a quick play spell with a lot of utility. It's got 3 different effects. You can either bounce cards, your light beast, and your opponent's cards. You can summon a Yummy monster from your hand or graveyard. That will definitely be your most used effect. And you can also bounce field spells to place new field spells in play. Like I said, the second effect is the one you're going to be using the most, and this is part of the reason why Marshmallow Yummy is so good. As mentioned before, you can simply summon Marshmallow Yummy during your turn with the Yummy Surprise, and then use Marshmallow to add the surprise right back to your hand. So, even though this is going to be a pretty important combo piece for turn 1, as well as some of your follow-up for your opponent's turn, you actually really only need 1 copy of this card, because it's searchable by Cupsy, and again, Marshmallow can just add it right back to hand. So, yeah, I mean, without Marshmallow Yummy, I think we would have gone for a full playset of 3, but I think now we could definitely get away with just 1, maybe 2 if you really want to, but I'm actually only going to even recommend 1 here. I think that's all you need. DDDD, Dimensional King Arc Crisis, is the new big boss monster of the DDD deck in this wave of support. But it's not necessarily the kind of card you want to be summoning on turn 1. This is more of a turn 2 or turn 3 OTK style boss monster. It can be summoned by using 4 feed monsters of one of each Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, and Pendulum, and you can banish these from your graveyard as well. So this can combine pretty well with some of the new DDD support, particularly when the new Xyz and Synchro monster are banished. They will give this monster the ability to inflict piercing, as well as also deal damage equal to the attack of monsters it destroys in battle. So that, combined with the fact that this has 4,000 attack, it can attack all of your opponent's monsters once each, and when this is special summoned, it negates the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent controls. These facts all together definitely make this quite the formidable boss monster, so you'll definitely want 1 copy if you are going to be playing DDD with the new support. Just the 1 is needed, but I definitely highly recommend playing it for this deck. Now, even with this new support, I think DDD is going to end up being a rogue deck, but I think this new support will definitely help it keep up with the power level of the 2026 Master Duel meta. DDD, Zero Demise King Zero Machinex, is another new piece of support for the DDD archetype. You are definitely going to want a full playset of this card, because with its Pendulum effect, you can actually place Dark Contract continuous spells from your deck face up onto the field, which of course one of those is going to be your search card, which acts as one of your starters. So having a playset of this is also just going to be an extra playset of starters for your DDD deck, which of course is always going to be good. And it's got pretty decent body on top of that. It's got nice stats. Yeah, not really much to say about this one overall. It's pretty simple in what it does, and you're going to want a full playset because this is one of those cards you would love to open with as often as possible. Megalith, notrah, plura, is another big boss monster, this time for the Megalith archetype. It's a level 12 ritual monster, and it has quite a powerful effect. It's an Omni-Negate that also destroys, and then if the effect that you negated targeted a card on your field, you can also tribute a monster your opponent controls. This card also has an in-hand effect where once you reveal it, you basically make it so your opponent can't use hand traps or negates or responses to your Megalith ritual monster effects. So that's pretty cool. I think that much like the DDD support that we're going to be seeing in this selection pack, this new Megalith support, while being very good for the archetype and a definite boost for it, unfortunately won't really get it out of Rogue tier. But Megalith has definitely been one of the more popular decks in Master Duel for its use in NR Festival as well as a lot of other events. And on top of that, just being a really cool ritual archetype. So it's definitely cool to see this deck get some much needed love. From what I can tell in my research, you definitely want 2 copies of this card in your Megalith decks if you're going to be playing it with the new support. Megalith Anastasis is yet another one of these support cards that is going to be really helpful in boosting the consistency of its archetype. We've seen that with DDD, and we're going to see it with the Solfachord spell card as well. And like those, you're going to want a full playset of this card if you do end up playing Megalith. Not only does it let you search 2 Megalith monsters by discarding a card, but you also get some pretty strong effects whenever you ritual summon your Megalith monsters, either drawing more cards or tributing your opponent's stuff. So yeah, like these other consistency boosting cards, there's not a ton to say about it. It's just a pretty natural 3-of you're going to slot into every single Megalith deck you play moving forward. Solfachord Happiness is going to be an important piece of the new follow-up support for the Solfachord archetype. It's a really, really good card because it's got 3 pretty strong effects that all seem pretty relevant for this deck. Granted, I don't have much personal experience with Solfachord Happiness, but from what I could tell in my research for making this video, this card is pretty much always played at 3 every single time, which is really easy to see why. This card is not only a great starter, but it's got some extender effects as well. Now, as far as how good Solfachord's gonna be, it's funny. Actually, Solfachord's most successful variants are Solfachord Yummy. Yummy, of course, also being introduced in this same pack. And this deck has actually gotten a few YCS tops. For that reason, I'm gonna hedge a little bit and call Solfachord tier 3. Particularly Solfachord Yummy, I don't think the Pure or other variants are going to be quite as strong. But again, from my research, from what I could tell, Solfachord Yummy in particular has put up some noticeable results in bigger tournaments. So no matter what Solfachord variant you're going to play, you'll definitely want 3 copies of Happiness for your deck. Again, fantastic starter that can also act as an extender. Very important piece of support for this archetype. Miracle Raven is a generic piece of ritual support that's kind of interesting. So it's a ritual pendulum monster. It can be ritual summoned from the pendulum scale, and you might be wondering what the point of ritual summoning this weak monster is. Well, it's a ritual monster that's also ritual fodder. It can be used the entire material for any ritual summon, and on top of that, once it is tributed for a ritual summon, you can add any ritual monster from your deck to your hand. As a result, you could consider this for like Mitsurugi decks. It's also been used in some Gem Knights variants, from what I can tell in my research. I think also it is being used for Mitsurugi in those instances. So you could consider this for Mitsu or like any amount of ritual decks, but I'm not the biggest fan of this card. I actually don't think it's really that good at all. The main reason I'm not a huge fan of Miracle Raven is that it's supposed to make your ritual decks more consistent, but if you're in a position where you can ritual summon out this Raven, like, you're probably already pretty good to go, all things considered. Like, it's not much of a consistency buffing tool when you have to not only have this card, but also, you know, you have to tribute ritual materials as well. Which, like, I don't know, it's not the biggest ask in the world, but, like, I mean, let's be real, Mitsurugi's not a deck that's hurting for consistency exactly. Between Habakiri, Prayers, and, you know, pre-prep within Archetype, as well as all of your out-of-Archetype ways to go into Mitsurugi, I would probably only really consider Miracle Raven if Habakiri got limited. But I'll say 0 to 2, because I have found some Gem Knights Mitsurugi variants that are using a couple of these, but I'm going to lean more towards the 0 side of this for now. I don't think this card is that great overall. Gorgon of Zilofthonia. Hopefully I didn't butcher the pronunciation of that too badly. But this is going to be a rather unique and very generic Link 3 monster coming into the game. It's a dark reptile. Materials are 2+ effect monsters. Whenever you see that on a Link monster, you always got to give it, you know, a second and third glance because it's probably going to be pretty good. And this one is in fact really good. So monsters this card points to cannot attack. Also, their activated effects are negated. It gains attack equal to the total original attack of monsters this card points to. And if it points to nothing, it can't be destroyed by battle or monster effects. So that's kind of neat, right? Because it inherently starts with 100 attack, it's basically going to be 100 points stronger than the sum of whatever it's pointing to. And of course, whatever zones it's pointing to, it's going to negate activated effects of monsters in those, almost kind of locking those zones down. This is going to affect the scope of how your opponent's able to combo, but doing it in a way where your opponent chooses to engage, like they choose how they engage with this card, right? Because of course there's going to be 2 zones that they can always summon into, as well as an EMZ that this card is not pointing to. But I think it's really cool that this card also protects itself from monsters if nothing is pointing, or if it's not pointing at anything. That's a really nice touch that makes it a little bit more difficult to out, but not like impossible. This card, in a lot of ways, in my opinion, is kind of like a more balanced Appaloosa, right? It's a Link 3, it's going to be summoned a lot of the time with the same kind of stuff that you would use Appaloosa, like IP Masquerena or other like leftover bodies. But rather than just outright having multiple monster negates, again, your opponent can really choose how they engage with this card. So this is going to be really generic, as I mentioned before. You can use this in a lot of different decks. Pretty much anything with IP Masquerena, you could consider using this alongside like SP Little Knight. And I'm going to call this card tier 1 for that reason, for the fact that it's going to be used in so many different decks. Pretty much no matter what you play, I would recommend picking up at least 1 copy. Well, really only 1. You only need 1 copy of this card for your extra decks. But especially if you play anything with IP Masquerena, which is a pretty wide umbrella, you should absolutely be considering this card for your extra deck. And that is going to end up doing it. Hopefully this crafting guide was of some use to you. And as always, I want to thank you so very much for watching all the way till the very end. Super, super appreciate the support there. Thank you again, and let's go ahead and move on to our outro so we can also thank our YouTube members and Patreon subscribers. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Thank you so very much for watching all the way to the very end of the video, which by the way is one of the best ways to support the channel. Speaking of supporting the channel, take a look at the names on screen. These are folks who have been so generous as to either join as a YouTube member or subscribe over on patreon.com/Hexlex to support. There's also perks for doing so. If you would like to see YouTube videos early, as well as some exclusive videos that get uploaded to YouTube, but for one reason or another I decide not to publish, definitely go ahead and hit that join button to see content early, as well as some exclusive content. If you're looking for more exclusive content, over on patreon.com, I upload exclusive videos that are not posted on YouTube just about every single day. Whether you choose to subscribe over on Patreon, join as a YouTube member, or simply continue to watch, your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so very much. But for now, this is Hexlex. I am signing out, and I hope that you have a fantastic day.